Becoming a knight begins early, but not immediately. Around the age of 7, a boy from a noble family would be sent to live in another noble household, often one with stronger ties or higher status. He wouldn't be a guest, he'd serve as a page. This might sound like the start of an adventure, but the reality was far more difficult. Pages were, at their core, junior servants. You'd wake up early, clean rooms, run errands, serve meals, and care for the Lord's animals. If you were lucky, you'd also receive instruction in manners, religion, and perhaps some literacy, usually from a priest or a learned member of the household staff. But make no mistake, you were there to work. You'd be expected to memorize courtly etiquette, learn to play musical instruments like the lute, and maybe even recite poetry. Not for fun, but to entertain the lord and lady. Pages learned early that your value depended on your usefulness. Meanwhile, your physical training began. You'd wrestle, run, and practice with wooden swords and shields. At this age, you weren't learning advanced fighting techniques. You were building endurance, coordination, and obedience. Injuries were common. Rest was rare. At this stage, you also started observing knights. You'd watch them train, accompany them to tournaments, and begin to understand the responsibilities of knighthood. Not from books, but from the grind of daily exposure, and if you showed promise by age 14, you'd be promoted to the next level. Becoming a squire meant stepping deeper into the world of warfare. As a squire, you were assigned to serve a specific knight, often in the same household. Your duties shifted toward direct military support. You cleaned and repaired armor, maintained weapons, saddled war horses, and helped your knight prepare for battle or tournaments. You didn't just train, you had to learn real fighting skills. Swordsmanship, archery, jousting, and riding. And not just any riding, you were expected to handle massive war horses bred for strength and aggression. These weren't docile animals. They were trained to kick, bite, and trample. Controlling one in armor required skill and nerve. And the armor? Heavy. A full suit could weigh up to 60 pounds. You learned how to mount a horse in it, how to roll if you fell, and how to fight while barely able to see through your helmet. The physical strain was intense. Blisters, bruises, and broken bones came with the job. Your knight could call on you for anything, delivering messages, assisting in combat, or dragging him to safety if he was injured. That last one was no small task. Imagine sprinting across a muddy battlefield, dodging arrows and spears to pull a 200-pound man in armor out of a melee. That was your job. Failure wasn't just dangerous, it was deadly. Outside of combat, you also had to uphold your knight's reputation. That meant being polite, dressing well, and behaving according to the chivalric code. Knights were held to ideals of honor, loyalty, and courage, but they didn't always live up to them. As a squire, you were caught in that tension, expected to serve perfectly even when those above you didn't. By your early 20s, if you had proven yourself, you might finally be knighted. This was not a casual promotion. The night before your ceremony, you were expected to fast, pray, and reflect. You might spend the whole evening in a chapel, kneeling in silence, preparing your mind for the oath you were about to take. The next day, in front of witnesses, you'd swear your loyalty to your liege lord and to God. You pledged to protect the weak, uphold justice, and serve with honor. Sometimes you'd receive a symbolic blow, a light strike to the shoulder, meant to be the last blow you'd receive without retaliation. But the real responsibility began after the ceremony. Knighthood wasn't just a title. It was a lifestyle, and one filled with constant obligation. You owed military service to your lord. You were expected to lead men into battle, defend your territory, and maintain law and order. You had to fund your own armor, your weapons, and sometimes even your troops. Being a knight was expensive, and when war came, the romantic stories of glory vanished fast. Medieval warfare was brutal. Campaigns could drag on for months. You'd march for days through rain and snow, often without proper shelter. Tents were rare. Many nights slept on the ground, wrapped in cloaks. Food was hard to come by. If the army wasn't resupplied, you survived on dry bread, salted meat, or whatever could be scavenged. You didn't bathe. Lice and fleas were a fact of life. Water was often contaminated. Disease spread easily in camps. Dysentery, typhus, and worse. You might never even see battle, yet still die from illness. But when battle did come, it was chaos. Knights fought in close quarters, often unable to see anything beyond the slits in their helmets. Shields clashed, horses screamed, weapons tore through flesh and armor. It was loud, confusing, and terrifying. No carefully choreographed duels, just raw survival. If you fell off your horse, you were a target. Enemies could swarm you before you could stand, and if you were captured, you might be ransomed, if you were lucky. Otherwise, you'd be stripped of your armor and killed on the spot. When you weren't at war, you might be managing land. As a knight, you often held a manor or estate, which meant settling disputes between peasants, collecting taxes, and ensuring crop production. It wasn't peaceful work. Peasant uprisings, bandit raids, or political unrest could draw you back into conflict at any time. You also had to navigate the dangerous world of medieval politics. Alliances shifted, lords changed hands, and betrayal was common. One wrong word at court could ruin your reputation or end your life. Eventually, you might be entrusted with your own squire or page, repeating the cycle. Training them wasn't just a duty, it was how you passed down knowledge, discipline, and the realities of service. You'd be shaping the next generation for better or worse. So, was it worth it? Knighthood brought prestige, and in some cases, land and influence, but for many, it was a life of hardship, duty, and sacrifice. There were no guarantees. You might die in a foreign field, alone and forgotten, or you might live to old age, worn down by years of conflict. The romanticized tales of valor and glory rarely captured the truth. Because the real life of a knight, it was one of constant work, endless training, harsh conditions, and unshakable responsibility. That was the true price of knighthood. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you found this breakdown interesting, hit the like button, drop a comment, and consider subscribing for more deep dives into real history, not just the legends.